Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Riderpiece Theater. Me, Alistair Dayhawk, and tonight, me proud to present Kamen Rider Gavv, episode 35. Guys, I have lots to say about this episode, especially concerning Dente. Twice now, they pulled the rug underneath us, and I'm like, if you're gonna kill this character off, do so. Why pull this stunt twice? This is in the realm of the boy who cried wolf. I'm not gonna get too ahead of myself this early too soon because we haven't reached the scene yet. But I'm hoping and praying that you guys have seen the episode to know what I'm going to say concerning Dente. But, we will get there once we get there, right? But come on, Gavv Creative, what the hell are you guys doing with Dente? I don't understand why you're pulling the rug twice now, but you know what? I will save my rant until we hit the scene. I will relax and let us start our tale with our favorite soap opera / reality show as the Ganyu world turns. Lango and Lizelle and Jeep were there, and Lango was like, okay, before I move forward with this order, are you sure you want me to do this? Because according to Lango, for that amount of candy crack, aka dark treats, 10 mil is a lot. And by a lot, it's like you need a ton of humans to kidnap. And Lango knows that if he were to do this, the world will know, the world will know about the Ganyuts and their world. So it's going to expose them. And he says, as a company, are you sure you're willing to do this? Because we're going to get exposed here, not just by our world, but also our species. Are you sure you want me to do this? And Lizelle just says, do it. It's my father's orders. You have to do it. So she doesn't care if her world gets exposed. And Lango's like, okay, all right, I'll do it. Before I move forward, I want to add this. At least Lango is smart enough to know that if he does pull that kind of stunt, which he does, he knows that the country of Japan and perhaps the entire world will know about the Ganyuts and their world. And can you imagine, hypothetically, let's say Ganyuts were real, right? And Lango does pull this stunt. The government is going to get involved in this. And once the government gets involved, all hell is going to break loose. Humanity, at least in Japan, they will go into a panic. It's going to be Area 51 all over again. And then America might get involved. China's going to get involved. Everybody's going to get involved. So Lango was like, I don't know if we want to do this, but if you want me to do it, then so be it. So the sheer idea that Lango, considering that it's like he doesn't care about humans, so he views them as livestock. However, he knows the risk of pulling this sort of stunt. That's why he never does such a thing, because everything revolves around secrecy. Because if they get exposed, then, hell is going to break loose, like I said. But the sheer idea of the government getting involved and humans panicking was rightfully so. Yeah, it's going to get very, very ugly. But of course, when you have people like the president and Lizelle in control, they don't give zero cacas about it. Because I think they assume that they are the powerful the most powerful race so far, and they're like, well, if we're gonna get exposed, that's fine. We will beat their asses, and we will take over the world, and we're gonna turn the earth into a farm for our dark treats. That's the way Lizelle and I'm sure Lago views the earth. But then again, some countries like America have nuclear weapons, so I'm just all I will end right there. I'm just saying. So after our beloved soap opera, we go to the human world, and we're gonna be at the Happy Parade offices, and you see the office swimming in Guchizos, 200 in fact. And next an old client / friend shows up. Rit shows up. And it's funny how the moment Rit opens the door, all the Guchizos hide behind Shoma and Sashika, I find it to be hilarious. And Rit shows up and, wait a minute, I think I saw something, and both Sashika and Shoma's like, no, you didn't see anything. Why are you here? And so Rit asks Sashika for a favor, which involves something about a raid, Oshi raid, the way she calls it. And so we quickly go to the next scene after the opening credits. Rit introduces her favorite band called U.M.A, which, by the way, it's a boy group that wears horse masks. Yeah, I know. Only in Japan. And according to her, they're going to be running a concert, a first ever concert at the Nagihama Aqua Hall. And she has her ticket and everything. She was explaining her own story about how she acquired the ticket and whatnot. And to sum it all up, she doesn't have time to prep by herself because time passed her by and shit happened and blah, 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 blah. So overall, she's asking Sashika for a favor. Hey, can you help me prep? And Sashika, of course, agreed. And we quickly go back to our favorite soap opera, As the God New World Turns. Nave gives Lago some kind of device, and that was pretty much it there. That was all. Believe it or not, that's the whole scene. Nave gives Lago a device. And then we go back to the human world where we see Shoma and the girls are having their time in the shop, and they're just having a blast. You see these cutscenes with the cart full of stuff, and you see Shoma smiling, the girls smiling, and they're doing their thing while Shoma stares at a horse hat. So we go from the store back to the office, and you see that the office got turned into an U.M.A fan house. It's like full of everything with horses and U.M.A and all that stuff. And which leads to Rit accidentally cutting one of the band members' heads due to Shoma being a little bit too excited with the glue. And you see, Shoma like asking for forgiveness, Rit screaming, and Sashika's like breaking the fourth wall and just tells everybody in front of the camera, it looks like I had to, be here overnight. And yeah. And you see Shoma and Rit, in the back be like, so we go to the next scene with Lago, and Lago is doing the whole execute order 66. He's doing his own version of Order 66. You see all the agents infiltrating places like the baseball arena, an airplane, a cruise ship. And yeah, the agents are pretty much kidnapping people from just like, can you imagine? A cruise ship makes sense, airplane makes sense, baseball stadiums makes sense. Yep, he is really doing this massive disappearing act, which leads to the next scene with Honto. Honto is meeting with someone who is in need of writers, and he's looking at this article, and then all of a sudden a news flash popped out from the iPad, and the news broke about, vast of people have gone missing overnight. And we quickly go to Rakita, who is, by the way, practicing his Japanese, is hearing the news. And then we quickly go to the Happy Parade office where, of course, the Shika, Shoma, and Lit is watching the news as well. And then Shoma gets a phone call from Honto, and he's like, I can't talk to you right now, so let us meet somewhere else, which leads to the next scene with Dr. Nick's old house. We see the 3 Kamen Riders having a meeting, and this is where Rakita assumes that this is Lango's doing. And he tells the story of how Rakita is... back when Rakita was working for the stomach company, he used this old method of gathering, of being at places where most people gather. Like, we all saw how Rakita did in the past when he went to a movie theater, to a classroom. Remember those days? And he used his toxins to make people go all high-ish, easier for him to turn people into presses. Apparently, Lango is using that very same method and using his own toxins, for evil purposes. Which leads to Shoma telling everybody, look, let us be on the lookout and be at places where people gather the most, right? And he unleashes his Gachizo scouts, doing the same thing, be on the lookout for anything suspicious and whatnot. And before the boys get to leave, this is where we get to see Rakita asking Honto and Shoma, asking, does Sashika knows about my past? Me, temporarily worked for the stomach company because I was the one who did turn and kidnap people and turning into presses and all that jazz. And of course, the boys did not tell Sashika. And we get to see Rakita, like, he's been vulnerable before, but never like this, where he's like, look, I've grown a liking to this world. I've grown a liking towards you guys. Like, I made friends with humans, especially towards Sashika. And now that my dirty laundry has been, revealed, like, I'm afraid, that if I were to tell Sashika about my past, that she will hate me. And Shoma's like, look, I've been in your stead before, because Shoma reflects on what happened when he kept a secret, remember with Honto punching him across the face, and remember that. And there was another flashback that I forgot, but yeah, he remembers, and he was like, I used to be in the same boat as you are because I also kept the secret. But then Honto breaks in and says, like, your situation and Rakita's situation are very different. And that pretty much, as long as you know that you did bad things, just, keep it close to your heart, something like that. And the boys end up leaving and did their mission, and they start their mission. But, you can tell that Rakita is slowly changing. He is starting to like humans a little bit, to the point where he's concerned that if if any human that managed to get close to him knows about his past. But knowing Sashika, she will easily forgive if Rakita gives her that opportunity. I understand that he is afraid, but Sashika, including the audience, Hanto, Shoma, we all know that Rakita is a good man. He's a good Ganyut. He's no longer that emo Ganyut that we first met in his debut. Okay, we all know that he's a good person. It's just that he needs to have the courage to tell Sashika, hey, there's some things in my past that I'm not proud of, and I will tell you, blah, 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 blah. And then Sashika will be like, it's okay. I mean, we all have a past that we're not proud of, but you know what? We all make mistakes, and the best thing that we can do as, humans, Ganyuts, as a society, is to not make those mistakes again. If you want to be redeemed, just do so by your own actions. And guess what, Akita? You're redeeming yourself. Like, you can't let your past define you. You let your actions, like for right now, like you're helping Shoma, you're helping Hanto, you're becoming the hero that you're meant to be. And that's the best thing you can do for yourself and for Calmnet Soul, Sashika, your friends, and that sort of thing. But right now, Rakita's like, I don't want to tell Sashika, because if I do, she's gonna, leave, and I'll be alone again, and blah 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 blah. But hey, Shoma and Hanto are chopped liver at this point because he's like, well, I mean, if Sashika's gone, then what's gonna happen with me? I'm like, don't worry about it. You have your friends to back you up, so don't worry, Rakita. Don't worry. So we go back to our favorite soap opera as the Ganyu world turns, and Jeeb is very impressed with Lago's work because he gets to see a boatload of briefcases full of presses, and Jeeb is impressed, and he knows that Shoma is going to interfere, and Lango said, well, I mean, I'm counting on it, and once he shows up, then I'll put him into the ground, and that's the end of that scene. We go to the next scene. You see Shoma and Hanto just being in places where most people hang out. I remember Hanto was in a casino while Shoma was some kind of marketplace. I don't remember exactly where he was. And all the while, you see Rakita visiting Uncle Dente. Now, last week, we saw Dente. He looked like he died because the moment he was reflecting on his day with his grandnephew and his friends and telling everybody that if he were to pass right now, he will be well taken care of. And then you see, the cookie falling off from his hand, and his arm just dramatically drops, and he just sits there, not moving an inch, assuming that he died. Well, the Kita goes inside his cave, and he had this look on his face, implying that he is looking at something he shouldn't, assuming that he saw Dente's quote-unquote dead corpse. But instead, you see Dente laying on his bed, and he is sleeping. Yes, everybody, Dente is not dead. I'm not saying as if, like, I wanted Dente dead, but I'm going to start this rant after I finish this scene. So, Rakita wakes Dente up and be like, oi, wake up. Oh, it's you. What's up? Rakita gives Dente pudding, and Dente, he not only he eats the pudding, but he also eats the spoon, which, like, why do you need to eat the spoon? Anyways, Rakita is asking Dente for a favor, which is he wants an antidote from his toxins. He wants an antidote. And that's how the scene ends there. So I wanted to save it towards the end, but oh man, this is appropriate right now. Remember last week when I told you guys that, this scene with Dente just sitting there motionless and just saying that if I were to pass, he has friends to take care of him and whatnot. Like, they did this twice. The first time when we saw Sashika finding Dente on the ground, assuming that he was dead, but apparently he collapsed due to the fact that he hasn't eaten all day. And then last week, when he was about to eat that cookie, and then the cookie drops, and then his arm dramatically drops too, and he just sits there, and he ain't moving, assuming that, okay, this time he's dead. And now we get to this week, and Dente is alive and well, and he's just sleeping on his bed. So I don't understand why the writers, why is creative doing this? This is the boy who cried wolf. Like, if you're gonna kill him, do so. If not, don't do it. Why did you pull the audience's rug underneath for this troll? Like, you made us feel invested of Dente's supposed passing, and yet he is alive and well, and he's just sleeping. I just don't understand why they pull this stunt. Because if they end up for reals this time killing off Dente, the whole emotional detachment, in my opinion, it's like, okay, they killed him. Okay, that's sad. Let's move on. They killed the emotion out of it because of those two stunts they pulled. I just don't understand the reasoning behind those two stunts. It's just like, why are you trolling the audience? Why? And we all know, guys, that without Dente, the writers are screwed. The Kamen Riders are not researchers. They're not inventors. Aside from Dente, who will help them in terms of creating new drivers, new Kachizos? Knave, there's no chance in hell. And if Dr. Nick was still alive, there's still no chance in hell. So who else is there to help them, with, the driver situation, Hanto's, medical conditioning? Because, again, Hanto cannot go to a regular doctor. He has to meet with Dente to make sure everything is okay. Without Dente, what's going to happen with Hanto in terms of health? It's just, I don't understand why the writers are pulling the audience's rug with those two trolls. Last week and the week before that. What's going on? I don't understand. And you could tell that I'm frustrated. I am. It's just like, knowing the fact that Dente is the one with the brains, the inventor, you can't kill him off. You can't kill him off unless you have another character that does the same thing, or Knave, becoming the double agent. I don't know. It's just like, come on. But why those two near-death experiences? I just don't get it. If you're going to kill him off, do it. If not, do not troll us, because for me, I'm talking for myself here, I'm getting frustrated, okay? This is the boy who cried wolf territory. And if they decide to pull that stunt again for the third time, that's it. I'm not going to feel sorry for Dente's passing at all if there's going to be a third trolling. Okay, rant over. I'm glad that Dente's alive, but Jesus, just no, you can't do that. And here last week I said, like, they can't be trolling because they trolled once, okay. Trolled twice, like, come on, writers, you made me feel like a fool. God. Anyways, like I said, rant is over. So we get to the airport. Apparently there are Gainyuts in disguise as flight attendants, and they're preparing for a next kidnapping. The Kichizo scouts reported to Shoma, and the Gainyuts, again disguised as flight attendants, are going inside this airplane, and you see all these people, finding their seats, putting away their luggages. They assume that they're about to take flight to whatever place they're going to go, but unfortunately, we all know the place where they're going. Yeah. So the evil Gainyuts are masking up, and they're preparing to release the toxic, the evil chemicals, and then we get to the next scene with Shoma showing up at the airport, and with the Kichizos guiding him to the airplane. Unfortunately, he arrived too late. All the people who were inside the plane got turned, and when he tries to rescue them, this is where Lango shows up. He's been in the plane the entire time and tells Shoma, you need to stay out of our way. And he uses his red energy blast to, kick Shoma out from the airplane and, destroys the airplane. Because you see him just walking, all confident, and in the background you see the plane in flames. Now, did the agents and the Gainyuts escape with the briefcases? I assume they did, but I don't know. Like, can you imagine Lango accidentally killing everybody from the Gainyuts to his agents and the presses? That would be a complete loss, but something tells me they end up escaping right before the airplane got destroyed. But when I saw that scene with Lango coming out from the airplane with it in flames and all that, I'll be like, wait a minute, did the Gainyuts escape with the presses on time? Because it would have been so bad. But then again, Lango wouldn't care. He will be like, oh, my bad. Well, I will find some other 10,000 people to replace the ones that I lost. He don't care. He does not care about humans whatsoever. So we get to see Hanto and Rakita, and we get to see them, having, words with Lango. And remember, Rakita went as Lage 9, and Lango was like, hey, Lage 9, it's been a while. And Rakita was like, how dare you use my own poisons for your own evil deeds? And like, that's low even for you. But Lango was like, don't say that. Like, I don't need to hear the words of a traitor. And then when Hato came, and he's like, well, so it's you killed my mom. And Lango was like, oh, you must be Valen, huh? Like, I wouldn't remember, and even if I did, I wouldn't even care. See, I told you, Lango does not give two F's about anybody. He does not care. So we get this epic fight between Lango, Rakita, and Hanto. And unfortunately for the writers, they couldn't even lay one fist on this Gainyut because he unleashes his energy shields that blocks any attack, and he's just untouchable. and he uses his great long sword, and after a couple of sword slashes, Rakita's driver gets damaged and Hanto gets put on the ground. So he is easily defeated. He was just like a slash and just puts him on the ground. And so it came down to Shoma. And we get this cool scene where Shoma runs towards his older brother. Lango teleports himself, and then Lango gives his half-brother a clothesline and takes him to the ground, pins him down, and then we get this scene where Lango tells what he really feels about his half-breed brother. To sum it all up, he tells Shoma that he is weak, he is useless, he is a stain to his family, and we get a flashback. We get to see Lango, Nave, and Gota. The twins were not there. They were somewhere else, and either they weren't born yet, or they were somewhere else. But in any case, they weren't there. Papa's stomach shows up with Shoma's mom and baby Shoma, and he makes an announcement telling his children that, hey, this human is my new wife, your stepmom, and you know, the baby is mine, and he is named Shoma, he is your little brother, and that's it. And all three of them were like, what the hell? Like, wait, you married this human? You did the nasty with her and bore a child with this woman? Like, human? What the hell is going on here? Like, humans are the main ingredient for the dark treats, you know, our candy crack. Like, why did you do such a thing? And Papa's stomach doesn't give his children an explanation whatsoever. He's just like, well, she's my wife, you know, the baby's mine, your little brother, and if you harm them, then you're going to be severely punished. And, you know, he just goes away with, you know, Shoma's mom and baby Shoma, and leaving the kids being all stunned, like they cannot believe that their own father, you know, impregnated a human, a lesser being that's been used to create the candy crack. And ever since then, Lango and the others view Shoma as a weak being, like he doesn't deserve to live, and he ultimately said to Shoma that you weren't, like, I wish you would never been born. That's how much he hates him. He just hates his very existence. And Shoma, of course, tells his older brother, like, hey, like, it's not my fault. I never asked to be born into your family. And he's right. Like he is innocent in all of this, but Lango doesn't see it that way. And if anything, his anger is misplaced. He should have been angry at his own father than anybody else, because he was the one who did the nasty and decided, hey, you're going to be my wife and you're going to like it whether you like it or not, you know? It's just, yeah. And I'm sure Shoma's mom was like, oh, great. I got kidnapped and then I'm forced to marry this alien and then I bore a child and whatnot. I just want to go back home. And then I have siblings, apparently my stepchildren, who's trying to kill me and my baby. Yeah, that's one life to live right there. I mean, again, Lango, he has, how do I say this? Like I mentioned before, his anger is misplaced. He should be more angry at his dad, but he is dead, so he can't be angry at the dead man. He can't get angry at the stepmom because they already killed her. So the next best thing is, I'll be angry at, my young half brother, because I hate his very existence. Again, I feel like Papa's stomach is the root of all these problems because, it always goes back to the parents. Always. Where is Mother's stomach at? What happened to her? Did they divorce? Is she alive? Is she dead? What is it? And why was Papa's stomach's reason behind marrying a human and making a child and all that stuff? I don't understand the reason behind what he did. Why did he disregarded his own family? Because we all saw a glimpse of it when Shida and G wanted to hang out with their dad, but he's like, no, go away, I'm busy. And what's going on? It's just, it always goes back to the parents. It's just Papa's stomach. If he were alive, he has much to answer for because he's the only parent around. And you're a bad parent when you raise a couple of monsters who wants to, not kill humans, but turn humans into, livestock, and they're trying to kill their half brother because it's a reminder. It's just a stain. It's equivalent to Hercules and Hera. Just a brief summary here. Zeus likes to have sex with many women, and he ended up impregnating a human woman who gave birth to Hercules. Of course, Hera will not go after Zeus because, he's the king of the gods. He's the most powerful. So the next best thing is to, inflict pain and suffering towards, Zeus's son, Hercules. And he went mad and killed his family due to Hera's magic. And long story short, Hercules had to go through, the trials, and then ultimately he became a god, and Hera cannot do anything to Hercules anymore. It's just the reason why I'm telling the story about Hercules and Hera is because it's exactly the same thing. Because Lango, Nave, Gota, and the twins really hated Shoma for no apparent reason. They hated him because he was born, and they hate humans. And I hate you because you're just there. I hate you for existing. The same thing with Hera hating Hercules because it's just a reminder of Zeus's affair. And I'm sure Lago sees Shoma as a painful reminder of his father's decision of marrying this human woman who is supposed to be a livestock or an ingredient for their dark treats. Need I say more? Any case, Lango is telling Shoma that I wish you were never been born, and I hate you just because you're existing. You're here in this world, and it's time for me to end this. And so Shoma releases himself by using his Gochi pod, and he is in his over Gavv form. And you see Shoma trying to land punches on to his older brother, but of course he uses his energy shields to protect himself. Even though Lango is impressed by his new power, he says to Shoma, this is just raw power. You can't control it. I mean, it's just raw power, and that's it. And he easily defeats Shoma. And then we get to see Lango in his complete Ganute form. And just when Shoma was about to unleash another attack, his Gochi pod ran empty. He demorphs, and Yeah, and Lango was about to unleash his final blow onto his half brother and also the other two Kamen Riders, but Shoma play it smart. He uses his ice cream form to block, or at least try to block his brother's energy blast, which he does, but ultimately it was all just a cover up. He pulled a ninja act. So after the smoke cleared, Lango sees, oh, wait a minute, Shoma, Rakita, and Hanto are gone. And, he's just running as usual, he says, and that's how the episode ends. So we finally get the fated encounter between Hanto, well, especially Hanto, and then Rakita and Shoma. And now it feels like we're heading towards the end game. We're now heading to episode 36. We're heading into the 40s now. Now things are the stakes are even higher now, because Lango is really, doing the mass disappearance stuff because of the president and all that. And things are getting really, really interesting. It feels like we're heading towards the end game here. Lango is pretty much, laying everything on the table, telling Shoma that I wish you were never born. And of course, we get to see Rakita being vulnerable. He's getting worried that if Sashika were to learn about his past, that she will not want to be friends with him anymore. Dente is alive, even though I just don't understand why the writers had to pull that stunt twice. And yeah, I think that is it. And we get to see, Lango's, complete form, and he has the equivalent of the final boss, but is he gonna be the final boss? I don't know. As powerful as he is right now, it's still stuck between him and Nave. Nave has yet to come into the picture in terms of fighting, but I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised that Nave will backstab, Lango once again, and maybe he will want to assume power once the president gets disposed of by Lango. I don't know. Everything is up in the air. It's just this episode, as good an episode as it was, it's just there were some things I did not like, especially just the main reason is Dente being alive after last week, and saying that if I were gone, that he's taken care of and I have nothing to worry about. It's just, I don't understand. I just don't understand why Creative pulled that stunt twice. If it happens the third time, the emotional connection is kind of like, okay, I'll be like, oh, okay, he's dead. Oh. I mean, it's sad, but I'm like, I don't feel anything anymore. In any case, thank you so much for listening. Have you seen the episode? Did you like it? Did you dislike it? If you disliked it, what would you change? Did I miss anything? Even though I have my notes in front of me, I may have missed a couple of important things. Also, just to add, the whole U.M.A thing, I don't care. I didn't care about a boy band who wears horse mask and that sort of thing. It's just, I don't care. It's just, okay. In any case, I just wanted to get that out of the way. In any case, give a like if you like it, and please subscribe, and I will see you all on the other side of Oblivion. Johnny!